What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Dirty O IDP at Underdogs with the IDP guys, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about our friends over there at Trophy Smack. We're brought to you by our good friends at Trophy Smack. You can see all the stuff behind me. Trophy Smack has anything you need to bring your fantasy league to the next level. They've got championship trophies and rings. They've got wall art. They even have gifts to give to your last place finishers. Anything you can possibly want, they have. For me, I love seeing some of the loser prizes. It just adds so much more to your league, and so add that to your draft, and of course, get some trophies, get some bling, and you can use promo code IDP guys at checkout to get a free championship ring with a purchase of a belt at trophysmack.com. That's promo code IDP guys at trophysmack.com. And make sure you guys go and check out the IDP guys and subscribe. We're here every single week to the end of the season. I'm going to start off with Browns' David Njoku. He's absolutely hot with Joe Flacco. We remember how good Joe Flacco was with Dennis Pitta, little blast from the past. He's had an affinity for tight ends, and David Njoku has had his best career games with Joe Flacco. I personally would do a ladder bet with this one, but I'm going to start off with just an easy one, 60-plus receiving yards. He's hit that game in 3 straight with Joe Flacco, with 2 of those games being 100-plus. First, the Texans, -120. If you did do the ladder bet, just so you guys know where that would go with it, you're looking at just over 70 yards would give you plus odds. Let's talk about Bucs Antoine Winfield.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good matchup this week against the Philadelphia Eagles, who sport they pretty well allowed a top 5 to 10-ish just production to the safety position this year. Jalen Hurts has been pretty generous to those defensive backs about all year long. And Antoine Winfield is having a career season this year. So I like him in this game. And for this prop in particular, I decided to go over 6.5 tackles and assists at -130. That's a little lofty because his floor can be up and down because he's always lining up on the in the box. He's in coverage often, so he's kind of used all over the field as a Swiss Army knife. But I feel confident in this one that Bucs Antoine Winfield is going to show out and try to make a statement to these Philadelphia Eagles and see if they can pull off the upset this week as the Eagles kind of fall apart. And like say the floor for him has kind of been shaky, but I think in a big postseason matchup, I think he's going to pull through for us. So I feel good about this one.
Yeah, the biggest Pro Bowl snub out of them all. NFL.com rated him as the #1 snub. And you're right, man. This Eagles team has fallen apart. A.J. Brown could possibly miss this week. That could be more Dallas Goedert, possibly more Jalen Hurts on the ground. And with Antoine Winfield and how they use him in the box, I could definitely see this one hitting. I doubled it up. David Njoku has been hot. Anytime touchdown, +170. When I saw the plus juice, I had to throw this one on there. I know it's a double, but David Njoku and Joe Flacco is just magic right now. So +170, anytime TD, David Njoku versus the Texans.
Yeah, that's a solid one. I honestly placed a little wager on Njoku in a couple of parlays for anytime touchdown this week as well. So I really like that, especially since Joe Flacco's taken the field. It's been an undoubted connection, man. I mean, it almost makes you wonder how the heck the team's going to go back to Deshaun Watson next season. But
absolutely,
that's a solid pick there. For the second pick on the IDP side, I decided to go with Texans Jalen Pitre over 1.5 assisted tackles at -120 against the Browns this week. Jalen Pitre's been pretty solid in terms of tackles overall this year. And he's hit this in 3 of the last 4 where he's actually played 100% of the snaps, and 8 out of 13 games where he's played 90% or more of snaps this season. So I feel good about Pitre getting 2 assisted tackles in this one. And the Browns present a top end matchup for the safety position as well. So I think Pitre is going to be pretty busy this week. So, like I say, Jalen Pitre over 1.5 assisted tackles. That was at minus 120 when I checked it yesterday on DraftKings.
Yeah, and back on DraftKings, I got Texans CJ Stroud under 259.5 passing plus rushing. They give you about 19, about 15 extra for the rushing. He's not much of a rusher. We saw it a little bit. He flashed it a couple times this year, but he is not someone that's going to be rushing a lot. So I like the fact that I can hedge a little bit by adding the rushing, and it's negative 115. It's a really tough Browns defense. I love CJ Stroud. I love Nico Collins and everything about the Houston Texans. I think they're a really fun team, and I think that they still have a chance to win this game. But I don't think that there's a tougher matchup that you could have picked as far as a defensive front. Denzel Ward is questionable, and so that would be a big loss for the Browns. But they're getting Delpit back, and they also have 2 shutdown corners. They got one of the best slot corners, Greg Newsome, and they got Emerson on the other side. So I don't think it's it's gonna be tough sledding out there for CJ Stroud. So I'm going with the lower.
Good call there. I know Gary went Trent McDuffie on yesterday's episode, but I decided to change it up a little bit. We're still going with Trent McDuffie, but instead of solo tackles, I'm going for him to get over 4.5 tackles plus assists at minus 110 against the Dolphins this week. I just think this is a smash play. Earlier in the season, he's had 11 tackles against Miami, so he's just got to get 5 to notch this one. I think this ought to be an easy one for him to hit. And he's actually hit it in 66% of the games this year. And the Chiefs love to use their defensive backs, all of them in the box. I mean, they're all constantly back there rushing the passer, getting tackles, breaking up plays. And so I think McDuffie's going to be utilized a lot in that box, especially in a cold game in Kansas City this week. So there ought to be plenty of times for him to maybe stuff a run for a tackle for a loss and just kind of pad that and get it early on in this one. So Trent McDuffie over 4.5 tackles and assists.
Yeah, these weather games throw a wrench into everything, and so we know Miami likes to throw the ball towards the close to the line of scrimmage, and with an uptick in the running game, you could definitely see a lot of this. I'm gonna go with Travis Kelce. I can't remember a Chiefs playoff game that Travis Kelce has not scored a touchdown. I mean, he just scores touchdowns. And I know this has been a down year for him, but let's not forget he came into the season a little bit banged up. I mean, they possibly thought he tore his ACL a week or 2 before the game, before the season started. This guy's been playing through pain. And yeah, he's getting a little bit older. But this guy has still he's still one of the best in the game. And Andy Reid he's been prepared for this. He's got something in the bag. And whether it's a pop pass, a run, an end around, something, Travis Kelce will be in the end zone this weekend. And you got plus 100. This plus get some juice for Travis Kelce touchdown. That does not happen. And so I'm going to jump all over it.
Absolutely. Solid play. Yeah, because like you alluded to, Andy Reid is a mastermind at calling plays, man. And he knows that in big games in the playoffs, especially, he knows how to get his playmakers the ball, even regardless of the fact that Kelce's been pretty well double covered all year long and kind of been shut down for the most part compared to past seasons. But yeah, that'd be a good. I feel good about Kelce finding the end zone in this one too. Next up for the IDP side, I decided to go with Browns Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah over 5.5 solo tackles at plus 100 against the Texans this week. Houston's been a top end matchup for linebackers all year. They've been right around a top 10 matchup for the position and just production allowed. And JOK has hit this mark in 5 of the last 7 games, and he was one solo tackle short of this mark in the last time they played Houston. And not to mention, the guy sports a 72% solo tackle rate of all his tackles. I mean, 7 out of 10 of them are going to be solos. So I feel good about him getting up there close to that 10 tackle mark. And I think he notches at least 6 solo tackles this week against the Texans. So he ought to be pretty busy.
Nah, I love that, and like I said earlier, it's really hard to pass against the Browns. It's not that easy to run against them either.
Hmm.
But they're gonna have to do what they can and try to get Singletary involved. And so JOK is a great pick. I flirted with the rushing with this one, but I just went with the anytime touchdown. Anytime you get these playoff games, you get these big games, they run more. The quarterbacks are going to run more in these kind of events, and you're looking at a team that they're going to be playing. I don't know if you've seen the game, but right now it is Buffalo Stadium is completely under snow right now. This is going to be a fun game. A lot of rushing, a lot of Josh Allen rushing, and the Bills they have their own little version of the tush push. Everyone's really
Hmm.
trying to find a fun name for it. I think they called it the bobsled last week, but it's unstoppable. And Josh Allen will do it from the freaking 3 yard line. So give me the anytime touchdown against the Steelers, plus 110. Give me Josh Allen to score a touchdown this weekend.
Absolutely. The guy's got to have a rushing touchdown in over 80% of the games this year, at least.
15. He
Uh,
has 15 this year,
15. Yeah.
and I didn't even count if last week. If he got one last week, it's more than 15.
So 15 out of 17. I mean, yeah, 15 out of 17. Man. Well, no, he played full game last week. So I guess it would be 15 out of, well, it's
Yeah.
17 then with the bye. So yeah, that's right. That's pretty good. So he's another one I threw in with some anytime touchdown parlays along with Njoku and a few others too. So solid play. I love that. And last IDP pick here we've got for the week. I actually really like this one. The odds were pretty good, and I'm just crossing my fingers that the running game doesn't weigh in this particular person's favor this week. But I still feel pretty good about Duke Riley, Dolphins linebacker Duke Riley, getting under 6.5 tackles and assists at plus 120 against the Chiefs this week. He's he started for the Dolphins for like the last 6 weeks, I believe, and he's only hit this in the very first game that he started. So I just don't see this Dolphins defense is just completely falling apart. I mean, the only people that they're just losing people all over the field. So I have a hard time seeing Duke Riley surpass the seven tackle mark, or actually achieving the 7 tackle mark, surpassing 6.5 tackles and assists this week against the Chiefs. So I feel good about plus 120 odds for Duke Riley under 6.5.
All right. If you want to scroll up real quick so we can do a
Yeah.
recap. And I just want to remind everybody, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. And so to start off, we're going with David Njoku, 60+ receiving. It's minus 20 versus the Texans. We got Antoine Winfield, 6.5 tackles plus assists, minus 130. You have Browns Njoku again with an anytime touchdown with plus 170. You can also take, if you don't want to double up on Njoku, they got 1.5 as the over-under for both quarterbacks here, CJ Stroud or Joe Flacco. And I'm going to take Joe Flacco with the over. Jalen Pitre over 1.5 assisted tackles with minus 120 at Browns. We got Stroud under 259.5 passing plus rushing, minus 115 at Browns. Chiefs, Trent McDuffie over 4.5 tackles plus assists, minus 110 versus the Dolphins. Chiefs, Travis Kelce, anytime touchdown, plus 100 versus the Dolphins. Browns, JOK, over 5.5 solo tackles, plus 100 versus the Texans. Bills, Josh Allen, getting a score, anytime touchdown, plus 110 versus Steelers. I did double check it. It's 15 on the year. Pretty solid. Dolphins, Duke Riley, he's only hit it once. Under 6.5 tackles plus assists, plus 120 odds. Let's cash it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, now let's talk about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. And if you haven't played Underdog Fantasy, it's so much fun. And so this is what we're doing is a pick'em. You can do different things like battle royales where you're drafting players. You can do best ball. They got a huge playoff best ball tournament. This is their pick'em challenge, and all you're doing is picking two stats, from two different teams, and then you're just picking higher or lower. And the more that you hit, the higher the payout is. So for just 2, it's 3x. For 3, it's 6x. For 4, it's 10x. And if you put a spicy one in, which I think Axton did, then we might have a little higher odds. So lower 245.5 passing yards versus the Dolphins for Patrick Mahomes. The Dolphins are falling apart, and you could see some issues there on the secondary, but this game is just so cold. You're looking at a lot of underneath stuff, a lot of rushing. This could be a much faster game. And Patrick Mahomes he's not been a 300-yard passer to the frequency that he's been in the past seasons. Part of that's due to the Kelce, and part of that's due to just the incompetency of his receivers. Marcus Valdes-Scantling's dropping the ball. Kadarius Toney's dropping the ball. I mean, they showed Ladarius Sneed's stats, and people thought it was Kadarius Toney. This dude just cannot catch the ball. And so 245.5, I'm going to go lower and take my chances on that one.
Good play. I'm going back off my prop from earlier, and I'm going with Browns Jok over or higher than 5 solo tackles against the Texans. Again, he's hit this in, let's see here. He's got a 72% solo tackle rate. This guy's when he's tackling for a majority of the time, he's the only one getting these tackles. So I feel good about him in a top 10 matchup against the Texans for linebackers. So Browns JOK higher than 5 solo tackles against the Texans.
Love it. Yeah, he's a perfect fit in that defense. Najee Harris, I got higher than 16.5 rushing attempts at the Bills. The Steelers are going to do everything they possibly can to keep Josh Allen on ice and on the sideline, and that's Najee Harris running the ball. And he's got the ball over 20 times. It was 24 and 27 in his last 2 games. You're looking at an average of 26 attempts, 25 attempts, 16 and a half rushing attempts. He might have this by the middle of the third quarter. They're going to do everything they can to run the ball and establish the run, protect Mason Rudolph. I think the higher or lower on him was 188 for the passing. They're not expecting a lot of passing from the Steelers in this snowy and windy game.
Yeah, Najee's been on fire. I mean, as of like the last 4 or 5, maybe even 6 weeks. I mean, you think he's getting at least 20 touches a game and hit 100-yard mark several times. That might even be something you can add on to it. Because I saw that even the rushing yard lines weren't really all that high compared to what he's been doing lately. So I imagine they're going to keep leaning on Najee Harris as long as it's working. So
yeah, the Bills they're down linebackers. That's the weak point. Mm-hmm. They lost some linebackers in free agency. Then Milano went down, so that's how they're going to attack them.
That's right. To round it off here for our 4th pick in this underdog parlay, again, I'm piggybacking off of my McDuffie play earlier because it's just too sweet. Trent McDuffie higher than 4 tackles and assists against the Dolphins. I allude to kind of what I said earlier with Trent McDuffie playing in the box. He's always rushing the passer. The guy's hit it again in 2/3 of the games this year. Got 11 tackles against the Dolphins last time they played, and Dolphins pass. I imagine this is going to be a run-heavy game, but the Dolphins are not gonna leave Tyreek with no passes or no targets. So they ought to still be passing healthily. Is that even a word? There should be a healthy amount of passes in this one for Trent McDuffie to get some in the secondary. And then also I feel like he's still probably going to rush the passer and maybe even get a sack or a couple tackles for a loss. So I think he ought to get higher than 4 tackles and assists easy, maybe even by halftime if things go well. So that'll round it off.
Yeah, and Hills, they got his number set at 11 for targets, so they're absolutely expecting him to get a ton. Mm-hmm. They might be combined, 11 air yards, but we'll see how it goes. So just to recap, our underdog, our pick'em slip, we got Mahomes lower 245.5 passing yards, Browns JOK higher 5.0 solo tackles, Najee Harris higher 16.5 rushing attempts, and Trent McDuffie higher than 4.0 tackles plus assists. Appreciate you guys checking in. Make sure you drop your comments, questions, and we'll answer them if we can. And as always, good luck.
Good luck this week, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you for watching this IDP guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.